Hello everybody and welcome back to Pokemon Ranger. So, in the last part, we saw and captured a few new Pokemon here and there. That being Kecleon, Haunter, Porygon, and Feraligatr. But now we are going to be once again taking on the Grassland Capture challenge. Because there are now a few new Pokemon that have now shown up, that have now shown themselves here. And also there are a few Pokemon that we also did not get to find during our first time going through this. Now, and the two that I definitely want to find first are the two that we could have found earlier, but we didn't. And here, oh, there it is. Yeah, and here's our first one now. Spearow! Yeah, Spearow is just your basic bird. Yeah, it doesn't really get to attack much. Yeah, aside from that, sometimes maybe gusting, maybe you like those gusts of wind and whatnot. Now the other Pokemon that I want to pick up is what I talked about earlier. That when we went for this first time, that of course being from Bulbasaur. There he is. Come over here, Bulbasaur. Now, Bulbasaur, he essentially acts the same way as its pre-evolution, Ivysaur, where he will just utilize his Flying Whip attack. But that's really about it. But anyways, now I also want to capture two Spoinks. It's because getting two of them allows you to be able to get the allows for Rapidash to show itself here. Yeah, the Pokemon from that one Go Rock Spawn, remember that we actually faced off against before. We could have actually found Rapidash here previously, but it's just that I did not get to capture two Spoinks. But here's that one. Now as you just saw, now that we've cleared the capture the capture arena challenge, now we can actually capture our own Fearow. Now Fearow actually shows up. Fearow actually shows up here, and as you can also see as well, now Skarmory also shows up here. But however, the conditions, unlike the capture challenges, are definitely a lot more basic. Yeah, all you really have to do in order for you to get Skarmory to show up here is that you essentially just have to clear the story the first time. Oh! Well, I guess I got to show off what it's like when a Pokemon actually runs away from you. So, I guess that's something. Yeah, at the very least, I got to show that off at least. But anyways, as you can see, yes, getting the Skarmory can be a bitch to get. Considering that Skarmory really likes to fly really high up. Yeah, I mean really high up, so trying to get Skarmory with that is gonna be a pain. And now, as for the Pokemon that we can actually find here as well, once you have gotten the high score for the Grassland Capture challenge, and he should be, I'm hoping he's over by the left side of the area. He's over by the left side of the area where the Tauros is. I'm hoping he's here. Is that him? Yep, there he is. Yep, here we have Dodrio. As you saw, Dodrio really likes to jump up super high as soon as the Dodrio notices you. And the Dodrio really loves jumping around when you're trying to capture him as well too. The Dodrio can be extremely annoying to get. And I mean extremely a pain to get. And just like that, we've already beaten our high score simply just by getting the Fearow, Skarmory, and the Dodrio. But anyways, everyone, now there is one other Pokemon that I also want to get here before we leave, and that is the Pokemon that will only show up once we get not one but not one, but two Abras. But however, like I said before, Abra will only show up only after a minute into the challenge. Now, there are two other Pokemon that will show up here, but I'm not gonna show them off. It's because they're not really necessary, because we can actually find them outside of the capture challenge. And for one of which is actually a Pokemon that we actually already have on us right now. And that Pokemon is actually a Kecleon. Yeah, but however, just like with Abra, Kecleon will only show itself after a minute, only after a minute into the challenge, only after a minute into the challenge, only after a minute into this challenge, as well. But anyways, now as for the other Pokemon that can show up here, now this Pokemon will only show itself once you've gotten two Combuskins, right after you've captured but only after you've captured two Torchics. Now, however, that Pokemon will not be named until we actually find him somewhere else. Yeah, because it is definitely a lot more simpler for you to get this Pokemon somewhere else rather than here. Yeah. But anyways, everyone, and with that, now aside from the Pokemon that I want to show that can only show up here once we've gotten the two Abras, then once we get this last Pokemon, then I am not gonna be coming back here ever again. But anyways, now, but I guess I should say as well, when it comes to the music for this game, I would say, when it comes to the music that plays here, during the capture challenges, yeah, I guess I kind of like it. It's not really one of my tops, but I suppose I like it. But anyways, okay. Yeah, now we've got our two Abras. Let's see if we can find him quickly before the time limit. There he is! Slowpoke. Yeah, this right here is the Pokemon that you can find once you've gotten the two Abras. Yeah, the Pokemon that's usually with Murph. And probably the only time that we'll ever see Slowpoke with Murph. Because, well, if you've seen the other two Ranger games, yeah, you may realize that Slowpoke is nowhere to be found anywhere. But anyways, everyone, yeah, I may as well just talk to this guy for a little bit. But anyways, now as for I'm pretty sure I didn't get to talk about the music that was playing while I was going for the Go Rock Squad bass. Yeah, that one I also that piece of music yeah, I also like quite a bit as well too. Yeah. And then as for the music while we were going our way to the top of the while we're going to the Fearow Temple. Yeah, that one, yeah, it is called the Sekra, the Sekra range. Yeah, that music, I also kind of liked him. And I'm pretty sure I did not get to talk about, it was the Ice Cave, but I forgot. But honestly, I forgot what it was called since it has been a while since it has been a while since I was last there. Yeah, and it's definitely been a while ever since I last did anything, last posted anything for this game anyway. Yeah, but I think I'll go over it once we actually, but I think I'll go over it once we go back there. And we definitely will be for something extremely major. Yeah, and if you recall that obvious thing that I showed off when we were going for that cave the first time. Excuse me. And yeah, and I almost and just like that, I almost beat it, and I almost beat my high score again. Jeez. Yeah, too bad. I really don't give a shit. But anyways, like I said, now we got that Slowpoke, which means we are never coming back to this challenge ever again. But anyways, now it's time to do some exploring back in Lyra Forest. Now to start things off is, hope we're gonna see him. Where are they? There they are! There he is, yeah. Yeah, now if you recall, the 3 Linoons that we saw during our Fearow Temple climb. Now those 3 Linoons will show up in this part of Lyra Forest. But however, I'm more so going to explore more of the deeper portions of the Lyra Forest, because there are now a bunch of more Pokemon that have now spawned here. And for example, as we go over here, now here's where you can get your own Cypher again. Yeah, now Cyphers have also Cyphers have now spawned within this part of Lyra Forest now. And also, not only that, if you head over towards the riverside, now after the explosion of the Go Squad base, now that right there is where you can actually get now that's where you can have your very own Swampert again. So yeah. But anyway, so now that we have Cypher, now we can deal with that shrub that we could not slice open while we were going through this part of the forest the first time around. So yeah, we are definitely gonna be doing that. Oh yeah, here he is. Yep, now here's where, if you want to get your very own Scizor. But however, like I said, if you saw my 2 battles against Scizor, if you really want to have yourself a chance to be able to get just that one Scizor, it may require you to utilize a bug type a fire type Pokemon just so you're gonna have yourself a chance. Yeah. But anyways, now as you saw, I did re-get Swallow, but that Swallow is gonna be useful for something for later on. But anyways, now I'm hoping that this Weeping Bell can go really far away from the area that I actually want to go to. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with you, Spider-Man. Okay, here we go. Yep, there it is. Here's our shrub that we did not get to cut down last time. And there we go. So what exact Pokemon is actually hiding here? Let's find out. Yep, here we have a freaking Typhlosion! Yeah, but anyways, now Typhlosion essentially, he creates those bigger fire waves. Now Typhlosion creates more bigger fire waves, than cruel lava. So yeah, and he will fire that multiple times over. Oh yeah, and just to be on the thankful side, as you saw, that Weeping Bell is flat out gone. Oh, what the? Alright. Yeah, I forgot about the Spinarak there. But anyways, as I was saying, now, once you exit out of the shrub after you're done capturing that after done capturing that Typhlosion, the game gets the game is generous. The game gets generous and allows you to be able to have that weeping bell to have that weeping bell that was near that shrub disappear, so that you don't have to worry about him immediately eating you up. As soon as you actually exit out of the shrub. Yeah, thankfully the game is very generous for that. But anyways, as you see, yeah, I'm also getting this Ivysaur too. Considering that I'm also gonna need Ivysaur for something, because I'm also gonna need Ivysaur for something very important too. But anyways, so long, Corphish. I no longer need you. Since, like I said, we are now done with the waterworks for good. But anyways, now we go back here. When we first encountered Gordor, there's now an extra Cyndaquil, but there is now a Victreebel! And he will essentially do the same thing as the Weepinbells do. But however, it's actually very less annoying to get eaten up by the Victreebel, because, yeah, this area is really small, so getting eaten and swallowed and vomited back up to where you enter the area is definitely very less annoying than what you will have to go through with the Weepinbells. Yeah, but anyways, like you saw, yeah, Victreebel essentially does the exact same thing as the Weepinbells do. Yeah, so honestly, there's not really all that special for him anyway. Oh yes, right. And there was also that extra Cyndaquil right there too. So yeah, they actually put in not just one, but two extra Cyndaquils. Cyndaquils in that area. Yeah. But anyways, now this area really is and hasn't really been changed all that much. Well, aside from the shrub that is obviously back up again. But anyways, now as we go for this area again. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be getting these two Ninkadas. Since once we get out of this darker portions of the Lyra Forest, yeah. Now, if you recall, the first two shrubs that we saw in the beginning of portions of Lyra Forest, yeah. Now we are gonna see who are actually inside of those two shrubs. And now we are going to see who's going to be inside of those two shrubs as well. So yeah, this game requires, if you want to be able to get the rest of the Pokemon in this game, it does require you to explore a lot. Or even backtrack to some locations several times over. Yeah, so that you can be able to get every single Pokemon possible in this game. So yeah, and the same also goes for the other two Ranger titles as well. But anyways, now back here's where we can find not one but two Shedinjas. Another ghost type Pokemon, just like a Dusclops, that does not friggin' abduct your Pokemon. Yeah, thank God for that, huh? But anyways, now as for that same tree where we knocked down that Murkrow the first time, yeah, now if we utilize Tackle on that same tree again, then that same Murkrow, then a Murkrow, will show itself again. Yeah, and so then you'll be able to have your very own Murkrow as your friend as well. So yeah, but anyways everyone, Now, we're not entirely done with the steeper portions of Lyra Forest yet. Yeah, right now I just want to deal with those two, with those two shrubs at the beginning portion of Lyra Forest first. Okay, now, I'm pretty sure Linoon number 2 should be around that big tree. Yeah, there he is. Yep. But anyways, now for shrub number 1. Oh, come on. Come on. Typhlosion, come on. Why do you... Typhlosion, don't be in the way, please. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, Nakanda, you cut that down. Alright, Salon. And now who's assigned this shrub? Not 1, but 2 Combuskins! So yeah, that's one time where a Combuskin literally just showed itself out of the bushes was definitely not a one-time deal. Yeah, now you can actually find not 1 but 2 Combuskins inside that shrub. So yeah, that's really something, huh? But anyways, now for the shrub, that is actually all the way over here. Now this one contains something even more special. A Bulbasaur! Yeah, it's the right everyone. Now, like I said previously about a Bulbasaur, that you can actually find outside of the Grassland Capture challenge. Yeah, now that right there is where you can actually find him. But anyways, now I am gonna be ending on this video pretty soon. It's just that I want to go back. Crap. Pichu, you literally just had to run into me, really? Okay. But anyways, everyone, now, as I was saying, there is one more. Now before I end off this video, I wanna go back. Now I'm gonna go back to the deeper portions of Lyra Forest, so then I can get myself another cipher, because we are definitely gonna be exploring around the cave for like a long while, and I mean a long while, so that I can get something very, very important later. Yeah, and I mean extremely important. Yeah, that of course being the Kuroka cave. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, hello, Cypher again. I know it's only been like a few minutes since we just saw you and captured you, but we're gonna be capturing you again. Yeah, since we definitely gonna be needing your assistance for something major. Yeah, and especially for the two Pokemon that can utilize Vine Whip. But anyways, everyone, with that said, that should be all I'm gonna do this part. And so we shall continue on for the next one. And so until then, I'll see you guys next time.